Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and have lunch with Hall of Fame inductee Chuck D, huh?
Yeah! That's what's up.
My name is Greg Harris, and I'm honored to be the president of this great museum. We're 23 years old. We've had close to 12 million visitors from all over the world, and we take a view of rock and roll that's very broad. It's gospel, blues, it's country, it's metal, it's hip hop, and everything in between. So today we're really honored to have 2013 inductee from Public Enemy, Chuck D, joining us. Chuck, come on out.
Yeah! Chuck!
Prophets of Rage, Public Enemy, and a lot of other great work. And Chuck's going to be joined by Rachel Steele from Sirius Satellite to do the interview. She's one of our in-house DJs here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and is on our Sirius Satellite channel. So Rachel, come on up. And Chuck's got a special guest for you guys, a Clevelander that has been involved in music and stood on this very stage a short while ago and won a citywide competition. Chuck, why don't you bring him out, and I'm going to get out of the way.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good, yeah, good.
Thank you, Rachel, for getting ready to do this interview with us. And I'd like to bring up two very close partners, friends of mine, friends in music for life. We recently were in town down at LeBron James Promise School down in Akron, doing some work, doing some film work. So why not cap off that wonderful time with being at the Rock Hall after a beautiful thing that we did yesterday out on the outskirts of LeBron James Promise School, which is all about, give your man LeBron James a round of applause.
Yeah! Hold up.
I like to bring up a person who I met on the stage back in 1999 doing an event for BET right here at the Rock Hall, and his name is Jahi. He's one of my rhyme partners in Public Enemy and a native Clevelander who can speak for himself, and also another one of my partners in my record label, also visionary in film, one of the greatest filmmakers I feel in music of all time, my man David C. Doc Snyder. And so Rachel is going to actually talk to us and see where we go from here. Thank you.
Yeah, you can have fries.
Okay, I guess.
Did you find fork? Yeah.
I had to situate my my smartphone somewhere else on me. Seems like these things are attached to us. So where did I put my smartphone? Maybe I'll sit on it.
Well, thanks for joining us today. You were just saying something about the LeBron James Foundation. What were you guys in town for? What's going on with all this?
Well, Cleveland's a very important place for me because I've met C-Doc here in Cleveland. I met Jahi here in Cleveland. And they're my lifelong working music partners, people, songwriters, filmmakers. I've also got two other fine gentlemen in the house who I work with. You know, Marcus J. from Xenia, Ohio. And then also my man John Delcerone, a filmmaker and has done great film work of actors and actresses and screenwriters and script makers in this city of Cleveland. And Doc will talk more about, you know, what he's done also in the city of Cleveland. So I was down in Akron shooting video clips for an upcoming project of, I can't say it because I can't announce it on social media, but something that includes LeBron James School and stuff like that. So we hope that it gets through songs, videos, and, you know, it's just work. And so Ohio has always been that center point of coming here and working with some of the most energetic people, and especially the most skilled and most talented people we feel on the musical planet.
In Ohio, all right. Let's hear it for Ohio. That's excellent. So, Chuck, growing up, though, you wanted to be a sportscaster, is that correct?
Yes, I wanted to be a sportscaster. I grew up in the New York area. I'm from Long Island. And we got a lot of Marv Albert and a lot of the Knicks. And I wanted to be a sportscaster, whether it be football, baseball, basketball. And my play-by-play was real tight.
You can tell. You can
I mean,
tell.
I used to listen to Tate, Joe Tate on the old scratchy, AM radio, and he's making like Cavalier. He's doing Cavalier play-by-play. And being from New York and Long Island, you could get AM radio out there if you really search hard enough after 8 p.m. So, I mean, that's how much of a sports fanatic I was. And then the music bug hit me in 1978, 79. And so all my passion and enthusiasm went from trying to be a sports announcer, sportscaster, into being something that was similar, this new thing called rap music and hip hop, which bit me like a bug in 1977.
Okay. Who's your favorite team?
I'm a Knicks fan. I know I've caught a bad one because my team hasn't won since I was 13 and I'm 58 now. And my Jets, everybody, we were caught in a hotel with a frenzy of Browns fans and the team they refused to even mention by name. And they were talking about the game yesterday, so we was in the same hotel. But I'm like, I understand the sympathy about the Browns and all that, but my team hasn't won since I was 9 in football. So, when you hear about Cavalier fans and all that, you guys got a championship from one of the greatest guys ever. So clap your hands, because my team hasn't won since I was 13 years old. So when you tell me about all this, about, LeBron left, I'm like, well, be happy with what you got, because as a sports fan, I ain't got shit. But I'm still a fan, I ain't a fly-by-night fan. So that's how that happened.
Beautiful. Now, growing up, your parents were political activists, right?
They were awake, they were conscious, they were woke, as they say, and they was from the 60s, so they wasn't asleep. And you can't be from the community and be asleep and expect to come up or to even survive. So you gotta always have your eyes and your mind open and try to see what opportunities that you can make better for your children. And my parents did that. They were very conscious of the fact of knowing what was going on and what they had to do to exist in that world.
Now, most kids, I think, I'm a parent, I was a kid, and, from both experiences, most people want to go in the complete opposite direction of their parents. Sort of, not following mom and dad's footsteps or rebel. What was it for you? What was the time that you realized, yeah, they're doing something really good?
From infancy. My parents were great, so I saluted them from minute one. I had no problems with them, and and then they were independent minded. So they did whatever they had to do and did whatever they felt they had to do. And that rubbed on me at an early age. They said, do whatever you got to do. Be independent. Don't be stubborn. Don't be selfish, but be independent minded. Just be the best at it. And that it doesn't just work for you, but it works for people around you. And always acknowledge people that help you get to where you got to go, because you got to share with them. So being involved with Public Enemy back in the day, I was able to take a recording opportunity that came through Rick Rubin and bring everybody through. That's why the first album of Public Enemy is called Yo Bum Rush the Show. Because the little crack in the door that I was able to get my toe through, everybody came rushing on in afterwards. And I feel happy about that. So it hasn't been an individual achievement for me, but I don't need to talk about it because they know that's the truth. Mm-hmm. So that's what I learned from my parents. It's like, you don't get there by yourself, and and bring people along with you. True. And then also try to teach them how to be independent instead of them being dependent on you. Mm-hmm. So that's a different thing that I got from my parents. It's like, help people come along, but once they super dependent on you, where they can't be independent on their own after you kind of like help them, or you might teach and mentor and train them, that's something that they got to pick up from you.
Right. Now, going back to the beginning with Rick Rubin, he did not want to sign Flava Flav. And it seems that maybe a lot of people thought he was sort of, what is his whole purpose here? But you fought for him. Why was that so important to you?
Well, we came from the same area. We came from doing the same music together. He was part of the camp, and he was a vocal accompaniment to me doing the songs, but he was that extra position that didn't have a definition at that time. So Rick and nobody understood what was his place. And Flavor's place was more 21st century. He was more visual than he was audible, but he's also recognizable audibly. He just didn't have a definition for his role. But we knew that, but that's how innovation always is. You come in, you're jarring, because you come in with something totally new.
Yeah.
Even when people say, I understand it. So he was new, and he said, in order for me to do it, I gotta have this. And although I can't explain to you what it is, it's just something you gotta have. And then that's what happened after that point.
And I think he is one of the best sidemen in any group. Such a powerful visual.
As long as he remembers he's on the side. When he remembers he's on the side, that's when he's at his best. And that's not me speaking from the egotistical standpoint. But I like to see more work and effort from everybody I work with. You say it's no automatic thing. Stars spelled backwards is rats. So you try to avoid that.
I like that.
Love spelled backwards the wrong way is evil. But, we try to avoid that too.
Okay, now what about your relationship here? You guys met here in Ohio. Can you give me a little backstory?
Yeah, I met Chuck D right here on this stage in 1999, one of the first local hip hop artists from Cleveland to perform on this stage. There was BET was doing a hip hop 10-year event, and out of that, I think Public Enemy, Outkast, Goody Mob were on that stage. And one thing I learned was, if you get an opportunity, come early. And when I came early and I went backstage, the entire Public Enemy group was backstage. And Chuck was like, so you're the rapper that's gonna perform. And after that time, we stayed in contact. I've always been a fan of Public Enemy. I was just talking about, Dial's Rapid Creations, where I bought the first Yo Bum Rush the Show record. I gotta give a shout out to DJ Johnny Yo.
Great Johnny Yo. Stand up, Johnny.
Man, can you please stand up one time? Because if it wasn't for Johnny Yo, we probably would have never heard hip hop on the radio. I would have never heard Public Enemy. And from that time, we remained friends. I had an opportunity to open up some shows for Public Enemy. And then Chuck D one day said, James Brown, Bobby Bird. And I understood what he was saying, which was like the beginning elements of what we now call PE 2.0. PE 2.0 is continuing the cultural legacy of Public Enemy, where I get a chance to revisit some Public Enemy songs. I get a chance to cover some songs in the catalog that you may not hear, and then also continue to create songs around the cultural, social, political climate that we're in, and rock live. So
he released four albums. PE 2.0 is short for Project Experience Millennium, and Jahi has just nailed it, and he's part of the Spit Slam record group label, where C. Doc Snyder is also co-president along with me, and the visionary as well. So that project, you can go and check it out now. 4 great albums by Jahi, and I'm very happy to be working with him.
Beautiful.
Here we go.
Yeah. Now going back to, again, the early days of Public Enemy, you mentioned radio, and I know Public Enemy struggled to get on the radio, but when you released, was it 88 when you released It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back?
Yeah, Yo Bum Rush the Show was 1987, and the thing that also is a throwback to Cleveland is that this was the city that embraced Yo Bum Rush the Show first. Our record, the next year was the national record, and Fear of a Black Planet was the world record. But when you're in the beginnings, you're gonna take a liking to who accepts your first piece of work. And the title record, Yo Bum Rush the Show, was, I think, a theme song at Shaw High School back in the day. The songs like Mega Blast, people like Johnny O breaking those songs, in 87. Also, freestyle rap. Anybody if you heard of freestyle rap, put your hands in the air. Now, the freestyle rap, exactly what you heard about, like, through all, like, you just look, you might think Drake is freestyle and all. Freestyle started in this city of Cleveland, with artists like Bango, and they, and these guys like Mike McAdoo and the groups that also Jahi
Brothers from the Struggle,
Brothers from the Struggle,
man. Yeah.
So the whole style of rapping in Cleveland and the guys like Dave Tolliver on the radio, they would always pick your deep cuts as being the main cut. Like Stetson Sonic had a song called Faye that they had as their #1 cut from while Go Stetson was everywhere else. So Cleveland went into your deep cuts, went into your off cuts, and Yo Bum Rush the Show was that song for us, which was also the name of the album. So yeah, in '88 was It Takes a Nation of Millions to hold us back, but you know, I mean, we knew we was heading places anyway because our off-album records were B-sides from singles that everybody jumped on because we knew exactly what to make at that right time for that right climate because we wasn't in a singles medium. You know, albums are what we put out with Def Jam and Columbia Records at the time, which later was Sony. So it was music that was going from singles into album formatted music, and we were right there in the middle. But we had to release singles, and we were able to release off singles on the B side, which became our theme. Our B sides were always kick and tail.
Well, you managed to go platinum with It Takes a Nation.
We did. How much is that?
Within a year. That's $1 million. Well, this is quite
They always
interesting.
tell you what you do, but you're not sitting there counting. Oh, this is 936,439. This is 936,440. It's like these numbers always got me. I said, we always made music, and whatever happened, wherever the chips fall as they may, let it fall as it may. Our job was to make it, not count it, but also be on top of after who counted it to say, keep up with what you counted. But that's what that is.
Well, you know, it is $1 million copies, and I think the most interesting part is you did it. This was before the internet, before YouTube, before Facebook, and you weren't getting a whole lot of radio play, but yet you were out there selling 1 million records. So that's completely different than what a lot of artists experienced.
Record companies sell records, we make them. We thought it was important. It would have been great to be on everybody's radio station like you hear Eminem or Jay-Z today, or Drake or 2 Chainz or Future. They're on the radio like water, so that compared back then, it was like, you know, you had to rely on shows that needed you like you needed them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we all come up together. We needed DJs like Johnny O, like he needed us. He needed fresh records in his crate, and we needed him to play it.
Where did he work?
Excuse me?
Where did he work? What?
Up here, speak.
DMT 108 with
108.
Dean Dean the Music Machine. Man, you know, for those who really know.
And Johnny right now is one of the biggest record pool outlets in the whole country with Nerve DJs.
You know, to your point also, I think It Takes a Nation of Millions, the reason why it sold 1 million copies was the community impact. That album actually was a soundtrack for a lot of our lives, and the collective consciousness that hit our community drove us to have those records because it became the soundtrack to our lives as we were battling the end of the 80s. You know, that was, It Takes a Nation of Millions is almost like the important album that sets off the generation of consciousness, which a lot of us are still living today.
Right. So what do you think the state of hip-hop is today? Who's doing good stuff? Who's
Well, let's ask
holding it
David
back?
Snyder, C-Doc. What is the
State of hip-hop.
Yeah, and I get this all the time, but you know, the thing is, it's like, we live in a visual audio age.
Right.
So what people see you first, and they listen to you second, but what do you think, C-Doc? And explain a little bit of how you mean so much to me.
Thank you for the loaded question. I think the common misconception is that people, and this goes with any genre of music, people hear stuff on the radio and think, well, that's it. That's what there is. But the internet has opened up so many avenues and so many options, and great music is where you can find it. So anybody these days that bemoan the state of hip-hop, they say, oh, it's not what it used to be. Yeah, it is. You just got to go looking for it. You really got to look for it. You know, I mean, the work that you still do, you know, you get that question all the time. When are you guys going to put a new album out? And you're like, I put out 10 albums in the last 10 years. You know, what are you talking about? The music's out there. You just got to look for it. You got to find it. You can't be can't always rely on just what pop radio is going to play, because the radio stations are usually programmed by somebody somewhere else. So local musicians are still doing things, they're creating things, and you can find that stuff. You just got to go looking for it. You know?
Who's good right now? Who's making a positive difference, or who's doing stuff that you wish that they would go away?
You want that question, Doc?
That's not for me to say. I mean, because art is subjective, and everybody has their own personal taste. I know what I like to listen to. You know, there's a group out of Los Angeles called People Under the Stairs, and they've got new stuff coming out. I love those guys, and I got to see them in Cleveland here once. They don't get out this way that often, but you know they do sometimes, and you know groups like that. Jahi's put out, how many albums he put out?
Man, 5 in the last 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the state of hip hop though is wherever the people are. Right now, there's a feeling of resistance right now towards some buffoonery, and I believe that energy, we have to remember, and we talk about the state of hip hop, that hip hop is a world culture, and it's not just based on music. So we have to look at it from a cultural perspective. We're creating artifacts. I could say Manifest in Ghana. I could say Anna Tajoy in South America. I could say ADL from Sweden. These are all hip hop acts that you may not know, but hip hop is alive and well. And I think there's always a misperception when people look at it from the United States, because it's like they're looking through a peephole at a world culture. The largest B-boys and B-girls are in Germany and Korea and Japan right now. The DJs all over DJs are really holding it down in places like Brazil and the Caribbean and things like that. So I think the state of our culture is always where the people are, but we have to realize we're not talking about a rap culture just based on music in the top 10 songs on Billboard. We're talking about a world culture that has done what politics and a lot of other people haven't been able to do, which bring people together despite their social economic backgrounds or where they come from, under the spirit of being able to embrace a hip hop culture that is continuing to live and continuing to thrive. And I always laugh when people be like, oh, Public Enemy's still doing it. It's like, weren't we just in 12 countries 2 years ago? There's records, there's music that's out. So I think and you're in a unique time now. There was a time where we had to find a Johnny O, but now you can create your playlist. But diamonds are not on the surface. Diamonds you have to dig, and it takes compression, and I think where you find the jewels of hip hop now, you have to continue to dig, which I think is actually a good thing.
And no longer should it be an excuse, and especially in this city of Cleveland, Ohio, where people just don't know enough about music. We live in a sports-saturated country. If you turn on the television and you turn on, they got like 7 or 8 TV stations dedicated to sports. Like, damn, the game is only an hour long. Why we gotta hear about the game for 20 hours? But we live in a sports-supported country, and the arts are not, and the musics are not supported. It's supported in this building, but this building needs to metastasize across every single high school, college curriculum, neighborhood community curriculum, and so, because a lot of our future is already embedded into the culture and into the music. So it's ignorance, which doesn't mean stupid, it just means people choose to ignore the path or the facts that a lot of the truth of the future is already in the culture, which is in the music. We live in a movie-saturated country where now they can flick on their phone and go to Netflix and watch their movie or television. So this needs to be literate. We have to teach people how to be culturally literate, because everywhere else in the world they're literate and even more literate about our culture than we are in the United States of America, even less so than Canada. Whereas you ask the average USAer, and I wouldn't say just American, because we live in North America, which there's a South and Central America, so everybody's American, right? If you ask, somebody needs to tell Trump that. But the United States of Americans need to be privy on how our culture is talking to the world. And I think what you do as Sirius is necessary, and what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the work, you know, Greg, Jason, Shelby, what did Shauna, what they're doing here to make live voices speak on not just the brilliance, but the necessity that people become culturally literate, at least as much as sports. I mean, I don't want to hear about how many interceptions that a quarterback has thrown in a losing game 1,000,000 times. I mean, that's cool. But if you can't name the members of the Temptations, or the Moody Blues, or I don't know, or old school is 2005,
Right,
or
you're on there.
you're 50 years old and you can't name your parents' music. That's a disconnect and a discord that this building takes care of. But this building sits in Cleveland, Ohio, but it's the epicenter of how to begin to get untwisted about the musics that you've heard that you can't identify. And it's beyond music. The music today is sight, sound, story, and style. It comes in all those dimensions to actually enhance your life. So you shouldn't be all amazed at music like it's a trivia trick all the time. It should be, okay, just like I know the safety of the Browns, I know that the bass player in this rhythm section, I know who Carol Kay is. Oh, I love music. And when I ask people 10 questions about music, they look at me with a blank face. I say, I just love music. I don't mean you got to throw Jeopardy on me. But you go in a sports bar, and if you don't know nothing about what's on the screen, you get tossed out of the bar for being stupid. So why should you be stupid about music, but you're pressured to be smart about sports? I grew up as we started this conversation, of me being a sports fanatic. So I knew my sports, and I know my sports up to a certain time, but I also said I'm gonna go into music with the same passion. And so when it comes down to hip hop and rap music, my job was to come into hip hop and rap music and make people literate about what was happening, instead of it just being hyperbole and folklore and people freestyling facts that don't exist. This is important to know about the music, because hip hop and rap music comes out of the idiom of all the other musics that existed before. People like Johnny O, you have to know those records. You have to know that I'm not just gonna pick up a Motown record, but if I pick up a Motown record, I know I'm also picking up a Tamla record. I'm also picking up a VIP record. if I'm picking up a Blue Note record, I know I might find some beats under a Grant Green recording. You gotta know these things in music. The DJs would know it, and it's important for a lot of people to have that type of thing. It adds to your life. And these gentlemen on the stage, and some gentlemen and ladies that I see in the audience, they epitomize that. So somebody doesn't look down at you like, oh, you're just playing around with music. And my nephew's gonna be a rapper one day too. And you want that to happen, but you want them to not get caught up in the circus of it all. You want to look at it as a craft. It's an art form. When we first was coming along, and the thought of hip hop artists being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it started with Grandmaster Flash, who was a knowledgeable scholar of recordings and musicians and labels. It was a big thumbs up. And then with Run DMC and Jam Master Jay, and then with the Beastie Boys, these people were scholars and hailed to every single musician in these halls. And then when it came along for us, we wanted to follow in the same vein. Well, you know, and also pushing, because it's an illiterate, I'll stop on this, because there's such a high illiteracy in music and arts education, we have to push outer campaigns to not trivialize people. If you ask a person 20 and younger, the reason I don't say youngin is because if you're 20, you're a grown ass man or woman. But if you act like a young person when the information pops up, you think Ice Cube, Queen Latifah, and LL Cool J are just TV stars or movie stars. And I'm like telling you straight out, up and down, these are foundation members So right now, we're trying to start an outside campaign of literacy to talk about the importance of LL Cool J. To hip hop, LL Cool J is like Little Richard. You can't ignore that. But we got to also teach the people who write, who vote, that's what happened. And it's important for you to know. No, he's just not this, guy that did, what was LL's CSI? He ain't just CSI and In the House and all that was, same thing with Ice-T. These guys went into the acting fields because it's a more organized field and they did it well. But their foundations as a rap artist and hip hop was formidable. So you can't just say Little Richard and say, oh wow, he's just a screamer. His foundation in rock and roll is solid as alloy. So I just end on that little speech is that these people are very important. We have to campaign for people. It's no automatic get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not an easy thing. Never should it be easy. We have to campaign for the literacy and the knowledge of knowing what these people did because it resonates all over the world. I haven't heard enough from this man. Tell us what you do, bro.
No, well, I just wanted to add real quick to what you said, that music has become disposable. It's so easy to get now with streaming, and that's fine, and it's great that the access is there, but I think it's become so disposable, people forget the importance of it. It's so interwoven in our lives. I mean, my cousin, my partner, John Delcerone right here, he'll tell you when we were growing up, hip-hop made us who we are today. We would trade tapes and just talk about it. We were just so obsessed with it, and that's how we got to where we are. If it wasn't for hip hop, I wouldn't have came to you and said, I want to direct one of your music videos. And that's how we got started. And we, almost 20 years later, we're still working together.
We all met under the CSU building underling, the docks, the trucking docks under there. Well, we met in person that night. But we first started out on the first internet music board to the enemy board of publicenemy.com. And this was 1999, and we first met. So before dating services, online dating services, this is what took place. We met on the enemy board, we all grouped up together. Marcus J was there, and a whole bunch of other tirades, C-Doc, Jahi we met earlier in the year, so we're the result of that.
You actually sent me an email once, like prior to the enemy board.
I did, I forgot what that email was about.
You were leaving Def Jam, and you were looking for a new record label. I think I suggested Rough House, and you wrote me, I'm the biggest PE fan that I know growing up, and then one day I get an email from Chuck D, and just kind of okay, that just happened, so.
I waited a year before I got a laptop, because everybody's so familiar with Apple and how powerful they are. But I remember very clearly, I hosted, the Grammys, the Grammys for Apple in 1996 at the Garden. And the only thing Apple had was these big stacks of computers. They said, we could pay you $1,000 or we could give you these 2 computers, which were the size of these monitors. And only held 1 gig. Maybe, right? And I said, I can't carry those. So I kind of learned how I became computer literate at home. I said, I'll wait for their laptop. And I waited a whole year for Apple to come out with a laptop, which also held 1 gig and had that big turtle shell that weighed about the size of that table. But I used it with zip drives and all that.
Yeah.
I think I sent you the email back on that as I plugged it up into the wall and waited for it. And then typed it like this. Doc, O-C-I-W will be.
Does it amaze you how far, like I said earlier, there wasn't the internet. There was nothing pretty much as far as technology is concerned in the late 80s when you started. Fast forward to today, and that's it. We
got to tell young people, man, look, you got to really appreciate these times, and I know it sounds like older people always telling young people, like, thank God I didn't have to drag stuff through the mud and just get in the car and then have something pull it. So you always got to put your mind in the present and also in the past, in the future at the same time. This is what musicians do. But you also got to tell young people, younger people, which to me is a lot, but that, look, this is good. And it's just not ordinary for you to just think that you can take it and now you can put somebody's whole life on a USB drive from Walgreens and throw it out the window and crush it. And their whole career is on a USB drive that they bought for $4.99. And I'm like saying that, and so because we're in a disposable time, if a scandal comes up with somebody and they say, look, because this person was scandalized, we will erase their work forever because we can store their whole career on a $4.99 USB drive and throw it in Lake Erie. And it's important to archive everything, I feel, and to tell younger people, it's like, the whole key with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is that, yeah, you could get it all on a USB drive, but you gotta take it inside your mind and in your brain as much as you can for its useful tool to help you in your life. A song could turn a whole person around. We just lost Mac Miller, a young man from Pittsburgh. And on his comment board of people responding to Mac Miller, there was a bunch of people that said, look, Mac Miller got me through my 18th and 19th and 20th year. So a lot of the younger people are taking what's happening on this internet as a big chunk of their real life. You could be bullied on the internet and then hurt yourself in real life. We can't be older and just dismiss that like, it's not real. Because your mind is real and what goes on in your mind is real, so it's up for us as elders to understand this reality and see if we can repair it with culture and music and good thoughts and good vibes. And because older people even understand, look, if I was sad for a day and I turned on maybe from the Young Rascals to some Motown music and I felt great after 7 minutes of hearing Marvin Gaye and some music by Cream, and I felt great. I think younger people have to be shown that there's gateways to culture and music and making their day better, making them see themselves clearer. And sometimes we can't leave it up to popular culture and what's sold on radio, because a lot of this stuff is for popular sale. It could drive your emotions and your attitudes down and make you feel very bad about yourself. So you need DJs, you need navigators, you need curators, you need people that say, this is nutritious and healthy for you. It doesn't necessarily always have to be the happy record, but it needs to be interpreted as truthful. So what you do on Sirius XM is necessary. I like to see Sirius FM become more free for the masses also. We have the subscribers like us that support you guys, but everybody should be getting a bite out of something that adds to their life. And the regular radio stations just don't cut it. Before they cut back from college radio stations really filling in. More than that, they cut back the knowledge of people trusting the whole dial instead of like, all right, there's 2 stations, and the one that says urban is the one that we people of color and black people must turn into, regardless of who they're owned by, because they're playing music that I'm familiar with. Gotta watch out for those people who just sit in boardrooms and offices that are looking for the sale all the time. Music is life, man. Yeah, music and culture is God.
Did you ever think that you would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I think when I first started, well, there wasn't no Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when I first started, but when I first saw that artists were getting in, I saw something 25 years down the line that was possible, but we have to sell the art form as being legit and not a trick. So that was the goal. we had to sell the art form as being real. And we knew that there's going to be turbulence from people who might have felt unacknowledged to be like, well, how are they rock and roll? So you got to give them clear definitions. We're as happy as seeing Deep Purple get in as it, well, of course I'm going to be saluting the NWA. If NWA and Pac going to get in, those are my guys. That's our peer group. And somebody that says, and this will take care of this conversation. Somebody that says rap music and hip hop is not part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This is like the game, how many of y'all know baseball? The friendly game, the United States of America game of baseball. You can't confuse a catcher with a right fielder, all right? Maybe hip hop is like a third baseman. We're not a first baseman, we're not a pitcher. We all have different positions. We all have different rules. Maybe sometimes when we come to the plate, we're not pressured to hit 300 and drive at 150 RBIs like the first baseman or the right fielder, but we might have to come up, maybe hip hop is the catcher, because we receive all the music as DJs, and we put it back out there, and we throw back to the pitcher for the pitcher to throw. So to say we're not baseball players is foolish. To say we're not Rock and Roll Hall of Famers or musicians is foolish. This is our positions are different tools of ignorance.
Perfect way to end.
Hey, that shuts
Thank you so much, Chuck.
that shuts up my man Simmons from the Kiss.
Oh, Gene Simmons, yeah.
Yeah, Gene is like, I've never heard it that way.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you guys here.
Thank y'all. I really appreciate it. I used to give out my email. My email simple is chuckd@channelzero.net, and you can catch me on Twitter at Mr. Chuck D. And Jahi.
You can find me at IamJahi.com and on Twitter at Hip Hop Educate. PE 2.0, 4 albums are out right now.
And Mr.
I don't remember what my stuff is.
Oh, he doesn't remember what's something. But hit me and I'll hit him.
Yeah, there you go.
And also I have a record that he's finishing up, producing. It's a Mr. Chuck record called The Celebration of Ignorance. And I'm very happy about that. I belong to 2 groups, Public Enemy and also Prophets of Rage. Big shout out to Be Real, who's also from Cypress Hill, Tom Morello, also Timmy Comerford, Brad Wilk from Rage Against the Machine, and also Public Enemy's DJ Lord. Giving everybody a shout out there. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Terminator X now.
Yep, Terminator X always. Who's getting married in Dayton at the end of the month.
Word.